Okay, so let's say that this is my function. Again, this is my A, this is my B, this is my H, this is my K. So let's label that just in case. So this is your A, this is your B, this is your H, this is your K. Okay, so on your first table, all you're going to do is your A and your B with the X. Your H and K is your transformation, how these values change here. And that's like how your graph changes. So first we need to figure out our original values with this equation, 2 to the 3. Okay, again, with our A and our B, we have 3 easy values. Like we said, you could use any numbers you want, but the 3 easy values would be -1, 0, and 1. What you're doing with these numbers, these are your X values. So your X values are this right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to get these values and plug them in the calculator for this equation. So in your calculator, you're going to go 2 parentheses 3x to the x power. And then instead of putting an x, you're going to put a -1, get an answer for this one. Then you're going to plug in 0 and get an answer for this one. And 1 and plug it in here and get an answer. So when I plug this value, -1, into this x with this whole equation, it is going to give me a fraction. So I get like 2/3. Well, I want to know where I'm going to plot that. So I'm just gonna get a decimal and literally hit the button right on top of enter on your calculator, and I give you the decimal. You all should know that already. So 67. When I plug in 0 in here in this equation in the calculator, it gives me 2. Then I'm going to plug in 1 into this equation for this x, and it's going to give me a 6. Okay, so this table is my original table. Original table. This is my new table. This one has transformations of H and K. And again, H goes left and right, K goes up or down. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to transform these values. So this X value is going to change depending on what my H is. So right here, H is 1. So H is 1 in the equation, but remember it has to be opposite. Why? Because the original formula is X minus H, and that's a positive. So that means it's the opposite value. So that's a -1. My K is going to be -5 because that one stays the same. So this one stays the same. This one's going to be the opposite value because of the original equation that we learned from Desmos on Monday. Last week on, I believe it was Thursday and Friday. You should have noted that. Okay, so that means right here for my X, I'm going to subtract a 1. And for my Y values, I'm going to subtract a -5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this value right here, -1, I'm going to go -1 minus 1 gives me this value. 0 minus -1 gives you that value, and so forth. So now I know -1 minus the transformation, which is a -1, is a -2. 0 minus this -1 is going to be -1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So those are the transformations for the X, which are my H values. And again, it's going to be the opposite of what it is in my equation. For my Y value transformation, that's going to be whatever is in the equation. That one doesn't change. That one, the formula could be a plus or minus. That one doesn't matter because that one's a plus K. And this -5 means it's going to move the original numbers down. So if I go 2/3 or 0.67 minus 5, I'm going to get in the calculator 4.33. 2 minus 5 is -3. 6 minus 5 is going to be 1. Okay, now this is the table that you're graphing. These are your points. These are only 3 points. This is all I'm asking. They might ask you to do more points. That means you get more numbers on the x side, get some more negative numbers, get some more positive numbers, depending on where your graph is. Again, also, I need you to remember, and I'm hoping you did, that your x value, not only it doesn't move your graph up and down, but because it moves it up and down, it's also your asymptote, your horizontal asymptote. So this is also your horizontal asymptote, which means now if y equals -5. So at -5, we have my asymptote. That means my graph has to be on top of that. Okay, so now if you notice, all the points are going to be on top of that. So we have at -2, we have -4.33. So that's somewhere here, and it's an estimate. At -1, we have a -3, and at 0, we have a 1. So my graph was shifted to the left because of the h value, and then it was shifted down because of the k value. So that is your graph. Hope that helps.